dwarves. They're rallying.
They're rallying to their king.
Hello and welcome to the Total War Warhammer and D&D, friends. Grab your favorite drink, kick back and relax because we are in a very good position for this narrative-driven campaign. To recap the events of the last two episodes with our Belegar Ironhammer campaign, we traveled from Grim Peak and blitzed our way over to fight against Skarsnik and declare war on him in the early first 5 stages of the campaign. Around turn 8 or 9-ish, I did completely take out his faction and took over his capital city of Karak. Now, this was a very bold move on our part because we bypassed fighting our initial enemy of the Ogre Rock Tribe. And also, we did spend a lot of our money on building up a second army to reinforce us, and even a third army, which is also coming in to reinforce us as well. Now, as for what happened to our second army, we transferred most of our troops into Belegar's army as well in order to take Karak, but also we unfortunately left our lord vulnerable to fighting off this one Skaven clan, which we are at war with. Now, they are a minor Skaven clan, but they were able to kill off and ambush our second lord, which we will do our best to avenge here. The verminous outrage grudge, and an outrage in Grungy's sight, the filthy, devious ratmen have ambushed honorable Dawi warriors and slain many fine fellows. The most vile of grudges, vengeance is demanded. Now, we do need to kill them. We will gain an upkeep, some extra 500 gold, and also plus 30 oath gold. Now, this is listed as a decisive victory. However, I do want to fight this battle, actually. Mainly because I don't want to have any damage to any of our ranged forces, and ideally no damage to our dwarf warriors. We also need to bear in mind too that we may be facing some menace belows against them, so I'll be saving my dwarf warriors, probably even our miners in the reserve flanks too, to protect and cover our quarrelers and rangers. But let's see how we go. Arguably one of my most risky maneuvers to send Belegar out in the front to take on a whole horde of Skaven. Granted that they are just Skaven slaves and mostly just clan rats too, nothing to really write home about. Slingers taking their shots at Belegar, but also doing minimal to very little damage. Belegar making his way through the throng of Skaven slaves, dishing out some damage to them, but also all the while just acting as bait for Throny Ironbrow to unleash a madness of fiery explosions. Just needing to time it right to make sure that we get as many of their front line as possible. Retroactively speaking too, it was somewhat of a waste of a spell to use it just on the Skaven slaves as I send Throny to retreat back to the front lines. Quarrelers giving him some cover fire, but Skaven slaves are doing their best to absorb most of the damage too, while clan rats try to outflank us on the right. Miners about to have a massive amount of charge coming in from these clan rats. Skaven slave spears and also slingers trying to outflank us That's the tactic with the Skaven, is using overwhelming numbers. However, quality will outwin quantity. I have a feeling quality will outwin quantity in this day, despite the overwhelming numbers. Dwarf heroes going in to fight the Skaven warlord there, who is also already winded and taking considerable amount of damage from both our heroes and soon to be Belegar too in this 3v1, or actually potentially a 3v3 or 4v1 if we include our quarrelers too. Dwarf warriors intercepting a flank of Skaven slave spears, about to break them. Retroactively speaking too, I should have been sending them out on the front lines as well. However, I was afraid for any menace belows that could be used against us. Sending some Skaven slaves in retreat on the left flank, and also focusing our quarrelers to open fire on some slingers on the right flank here. All of them taking considerable damage, sending them into a retreat. Now needing some time to focus our fire on some other slingers here, who are also making an attempt to try to damage our quarrelers, but doing minimal to little effort as well. As I was saying, it is quality versus quantity. Quality is winning out in the day too. Massive amounts of routing for the Skaven forces here. Couple of stragglers as well, but nothing to really be afraid of. Belegar and his heroes winning out in that 1v all situation, losing a little bit of the quarrelers and a couple of warriors too, unfortunately. Standing by on the left flank, but also the majority of our army wrapping up with taking out the last few remaining Skavens, who refuse to give up, surprisingly. Even the small minimal amount of damage is sending them reeling, and it's only a matter of time with our quarrelers even beating the clan rats in melee combat. That just goes to show you how poor of a quality most of the Skaven frontline units are. This may also be a preview of what to expect when we go up against Quick Head Taker, which uses a lot of clan rats in his personal army too. Feeling a little bit bold here as I send my heroes to wrap up the last remaining amounts of Skaven slaves. And like I said, any amount of damage done to them, no matter how minimal it is going to be detrimental and sending them into full retreat there. It is a decisive victory. However, we did sustain a few losses to our quarrelers, which I did my best to avoid too. Right then, definitely not my proudest victory, still losing some of our miners there and also taking a bit of damage to our quarrelers. But nonetheless, we'll take the victory. We also gain the standard of discipline, giving us leadership, and we'll take the oath gold and extra gold income for ourselves.
Belegar Ironhammer. I'm the one in charge round here.
Now, because we're still at war with this rock tribe, ogre clan, it's in our best interest to hold up and turtle at Karak Grill.
Our ancestors would be proud. Yes.
Gain a little bit of replenishment and also pray in the next turn or so that they don't try to make a push on us. We do have Karak Ziflin as our allies, which we actually sold this to Karak Azul for a pretty decent amount. And I'm also waiting to sell Grimpeak to someone for the highest amount that it can offer. A total of 11,600 gold. But some of our Dwarven allies don't have enough money. It looks like most likely in the next few turns, Karak Azul will hopefully have the maximum amount to give us for this city here. But until then, we'll just allocate a few points into Belegar's blue skill line tree. I'm also going to be adding in points with Inspirational Leader just because replenishment rate is going to be very useful for us, especially because it looks like we might have even more of a rat problem besides Clan Gritnak, which we are currently at war against. I highly believe that Clan Moors may have taken some of Karak Azul's cities, so even though we've taken out Skarsnik in the early game, this means that Queek Headtaker and Clan Moors are going to be a massive mid-game threat to us. Alright, and we'll end turn here. Now, actually, I decided to have a confederation with Bugman's Brewery, but not before declaring war on all of their enemies too. Now, it's a bit of a very mad lad move, but we're going to disband their army. And even though it looks like Scrag and Lord Skrulk are going to make a massive attack on our confederated city here, we're going to absolutely cheese the hell out of this. Selling Karak Guntuk to the highest bidder, which could be Arguelon. I have Averland, could be a potential one too. Arguelon will give us the maximum amount though. I would love to sell it to our other new Dwarven allies in Karak Norn, but they won't give us the max amount like Arguelon will. So we'll make an exception, sell it to the Wood Elves there, and gain a massive income of 38,500 in the bank there. We are still losing some negatives though. But this also opens up an opportunity for us to have distant allies with the Golden Order. And thus we can join distant wars with our quote-unquote allies and not have to risk worrying about losing armies or territory to them, because most of our focus will of course be on 8 Peaks, and we're just going to sell all the territory that doesn't really matter to us or doesn't really belong to Karak 8 Peaks to our allies, and ideally Dwarven allies, just because I do want to have as many friends as possible in the area. Alright friends, this may be questionable what I'm about to do here when it comes to trading a settlement, but Karak Azul is in pretty dire straits right now. If we go back to the map section here, we can see that Karagnar is pretty much about to be under siege by, Queek Headtaker's faction, Clan Moors. I have a really bad suspicion here, friends, that this is the last settlement for them. So what we're about to do here is we want to try to keep Karak Azul alive. And essentially, like I said, just have a couple of friends in the area. So we are going to give them Grimpeak at a discounted price. And honestly, 2,000 gold short doesn't matter too much to me, just so long as we keep them alive in the area, have them as essentially a distraction, or potentially even a buffer zone eventually against some of our potential enemies, such as the Khorne faction, ogres, and of course other Skaven clans as well. Plus also, we did get a few extra gold after obtaining a military alliance from them. Doing so puts us at an influx of 46,290 gold, even though we are losing around a little over 3,000 gold each turn. Now is only just really a matter of time and a race to get to Karak. We might need to liberate it as well. Karak may potentially fall to Clan Moors here. Alright, but we'll end turn here and pray for the best that Karak lives. If not, then we're going to have to race with our entire army to try to take out Karak, take out any ogres that may try to intercept us along the way, but most importantly, focus on Clan Moors themselves. Skarsnik was defeated, thankfully, but the Skaven, that gives way for the Skaven to be more of a threat to us, a massive threat actually. We have to assume that all of these ruins here are Skaven infested or Skaven controlled.